Title: Shadows of the City. The bustling city of Aurora stood tall against the twilight sky, its streets echoing with the hum of life. Amidst the crowd, a quaint tea shop on a quiet corner stood as a haven of peace. Inside, Elena, a serene and captivating woman with flowing green hair, stood behind the counter. Her light green locks framed her soft face, and her blue eyes sparkled as she poured tea into a delicate ceramic cup. She wore a white dress with ruffled sleeves that flowed with her movements, accentuated by a leather belt and a charm necklace. She greeted every customer with a warm smile, her hands steady as they handled cups and saucers. Elena owned the shop, a sanctuary for weary souls. But beneath her calm demeanor lay a sharp mind and a history she had buried deep. One evening, as the setting sun bathed the streets in gold, the doorbell chimed. A man entered, his presence electrifying. A dark-haired figure with piercing red eyes that seemed to glow faintly under the dim lights. Dressed in a blue denim jacket over a white t-shirt, he carried himself with an intensity that was hard to ignore. A holstered gun on his belt hinted at a dangerous profession. His name was Adrian, a detective known for taking on the city's darkest criminals. Elena froze for a brief moment as Adrian's crimson eyes met hers. There was a flicker of recognition in his gaze, something that stirred the memories she worked so hard to forget. She quickly composed herself, the familiar mask of calm returning to her face as she set the cup of tea down with a delicate clink. "Detective," she greeted, her voice steady but cautious. "What brings you here?" Adrian stepped closer, his every movement calculated, his hand briefly brushing the gun at his side. "Elena, I need your help. There's been another attack downtown, this time involving powers we haven't seen before. People are hurt, and..." He hesitated. "I think it's connected to your past." Elena's heart sank. The past she had buried was clawing its way back, but before she could respond, the doorbell chimed again. A young man with a boyish grin and unruly brown curls stepped in. His light blue eyes sparkled with mischief, but his stance exuded readiness. He carried a small flask on his belt, a subtle nod to his power. "Am I interrupting?" the newcomer asked, leaning casually against the counter. This was Lucas, Adrian's sidekick and a hydrokinetic with the ability to control water. Despite his light-hearted demeanor, Lucas was a force to be reckoned with in a fight. Adrian shot him a look. "We don't have time for jokes, Lucas. People are in danger." Elena sighed, her hand instinctively reaching for the pendant around her neck. It was a relic from her old life, one she hoped to leave behind. But now, it seemed fate had other plans. Moments later, the trio stepped into the bustling streets of Aurora, the faint scent of smoke in the air. Chaos had erupted downtown. A towering figure cloaked in shadows. Was wreaking havoc, their powers warping gravity itself, sending cars and debris floating unnaturally into the air before crashing down with devastating force. Elena instinctively placed a hand on Adrian's arm. "You're not going in without a plan, are you?" Adrian smirked. "Plans are overrated." He raised his hand, and a surge of electricity danced across his fingertips, crackling with raw energy. Lucas rolled his eyes but followed suit, summoning water from a nearby fountain to create a swirling barrier around them. As they approached the chaos, Adrian called out to the figure, his voice cutting through the noise. "You're done, whoever you are. Step away, and no one gets hurt." The figure turned, their eyes glowing with an unnatural blue hue. They laughed, the sound cold and unrelenting. "You think you can stop me? You have no idea what's coming." Adrian didn't hesitate. He launched a bolt of electricity, but the figure deflected it with a wave of their hand, sending the bolt hurtling into a nearby building. Lucas stepped forward, his water barrier expanding and crashing down like a tidal wave. The force sent the figure stumbling, but not for long. Amidst the chaos, Elena noticed a group of injured civilians trapped beneath rubble. She didn't think twice, her hands glowing faintly as she activated her healing abilities. She crouched beside a young girl with a broken arm, her touch mending the injury with a warm, golden light. "Stay calm," Elena said softly, moving from one injured person to another. Despite the danger around her, she remained focused, her healing touch saving lives. Adrian and Lucas fought fiercely, their combined powers creating a spectacular display of electricity and water. Sparks flew as Adrian's lightning collided with Lucas's water, forming a dazzling arc of energy that disoriented their enemy. "Elena!" Adrian shouted, dodging a piece of flying debris. "We need your help here." Elena hesitated. Healing was her strength, not fighting. But seeing the determination in Adrian's eyes, she knew she couldn't stay on the sidelines. She stood and faced the shadowy figure. Her hands glowed brighter, the light spreading across her body. "I may not be a fighter," she said, stepping forward. "But I won't let you hurt anyone else." The figure sneered and lunged at her, but Adrian intercepted, his fists crackling with electricity as he landed a powerful blow. The shockwave from the attack sent the figure reeling, giving Lucas the opening he needed. He summoned a tornado of water, encasing the figure in a swirling prison. "Now, Elena!" Lucas shouted. Elena closed her eyes, her glowing hands reaching out toward the figure. Her healing powers shifted, turning into a purifying force that stripped away the dark energy surrounding their enemy. The figure collapsed, their glowing eyes fading to reveal a frightened, ordinary person beneath. The chaos subsided as emergency services arrived. The streets were littered with debris, but thanks to the trio's efforts, the casualties were minimal. Adrian approached Elena, his expression softer than she'd ever seen. "You saved them," he said quietly. "I knew you would." Elena met his gaze, her heart pounding. "You didn't give me much of a choice," she replied, a small smile tugging at her lips. Lucas joined them, drenched but grinning. "Well, that was fun. Let's never do it again." As the sun began to rise over Aurora, the three stood together, knowing this was just the beginning.